Hey, thanks to all who showed up to our group ride. It was great to see our listeners in action, and we hope you all saw what Fatty and I were wearing to that little group ride. We had on laser helmets. Mine was the mountain biker's delight, the Jackal with Kineticore. Fatty, you had a racier model on.
Yeah, I did. I was racing with the G1 MIPS. For one thing, it's orange. And anyone who saw me on my bike with my kit knows that was important to me this year. For another thing, and much more importantly, it fits great. And it is so light. And it is also a 5-star safety rated helmet. And when you're wearing something on your head for that long, for the Leadville 100, weight and comfort really matter to your neck.
Yeah, well, the Jackal I was wearing on the group ride is actually my third laser helmet. And when it comes to fit, this Jackal is by far my favorite. And I think that's due to the Kineticore rotational impact system it has. And I know what you're saying. A rotational impact system is a safety feature, Hottie, not a fit feature. And hey, I agree. And so does laser. Kineticore is laser's MIPS-like system that prevents twisting upon impact. But because Kineticore does not have a MIPS-like liner, and instead has engineered a bunch of crumple zones, that Jackal I'm wearing just fits better.
Yep, I like the Jackal too. I wear it a lot when I'm racing. I really like that G1. Regardless of whether you go with MIPS or with Kineticore, laser is as safe as it can be. Laser knows that not every head's going to match up with Kineticore, so laser is continuing to offer all levels of helmets in MIPS. So if you are in need of a new helmet or just need a second one, check out the entire laser lineup at lasersport.com.
3, 2, 1.
Leadville, the podcast for the 100-mile mountain bike race, presented by Shimano. Find them at bike.shimano.com. It is Season 5, Episode 25 of the show that breaks down, builds up, gets you ready, and freaks you out for the highest, hardest one-day mountain bike race in the country. I'm Michael Hottie, Hottie to most.
And I'm Fatty, and we are back for our first of 2, or, who knows, as many as it takes, post-Leadville episodes. I'm still preparing my 2022 story, so in the meantime, we're going to bring you some interviews from the start line and the finish line. Yeah,
it was a week of putting people on mic, Fatty. Our show at the Expo was packed with guests. Ken and Mary Lee kicked things off. Then two-time defending champ Rose Grant joined us on stage with some great race tips. Ryan Cross from Lifetime and race director Tamara Genlink had up-to-the-minute race info. And then we nerded out with Canyon athlete Jeremiah Bishop and Silka CEO Josh Portner on race day bike prep.
As you say that, it occurs to me that the real unspoken hero of that episode was Mrs. Hottie, who managed to get everyone on stage without us saying a single thing. The way that people heard that in the podcast is the way that it occurred. So yeah, she ushered people on and off just perfectly. And the fact is we got a ton into that hour. It is worth listening to next year as you get close to the race again. And it's, of course, still going to be there in your feed at leadville.fm.
Thanks again to Mrs. Hottie, super queen of the feeds and a producer to boot, so she can do it all. Probably why I married her, right?
One of the reasons, I hope. I thought that the buckles in the chute went really well, Hottie. Mine was ready instantly as I crossed the finish line. After I took a couple minutes to collect myself, the only downer about instant buckles and same-day race awards is the sweatshirts are going to come a little bit later. I can wait. It's, fall is still a couple months away. So while we're waiting for that finisher's jacket, with your time on the sleeve, we've got a suggestion. Start planning your own custom kits to celebrate this year's LT100 or to race in for next year. And you can do that all at dnacycling.com.
DNA is the clothing you saw Fatty, Lisa the Hammer, and me wearing at the podcast group right and on race day. In fact, Mrs. Hottie was wearing some DNA stuff as well. Fatty and Lisa were in our current podcast kit. And on race day, I was wearing the first jersey we ever made, Fatty. That yellow top really stands out, making me easy to spot at Twin Lakes Alternate. and the finishing chute. And our current podcast kit could be spotted from hundreds of yards away thanks to the excellent colorways and design provided by DNA.
Yep, and you can look that good too. And you can come up with a design that fits your goals or your achievements. Or if you're not the creative type, DNA can help you sketch out some designs, and then you can make the final call. That's more or less what we did.
I tell you, Fatty, when I was standing in that finishing chute, I really felt some eyes on me. I mean, that jersey looks pretty damn official, you know? And maybe there were some racers and who knows, some Lifetime folks who thought, why doesn't our jersey look that good? Well, it can if you hook up with our friends at DNA. So take this time while you're waiting for that sweatshirt and put a little of your Leadville inspiration into a DNA kit. The first thing you do is go to dnacycling.com and then get started on a custom kit.
So, Hottie, in addition to that yellow jersey that you were wearing, I would call it, somewhere between yellow and day glow, you were pretty easy to spot because you were the only one roaming the corrals with a shotgun microphone and a pair of headphones on.
Yeah, I was pretty excited this year to talk to racers at the start line and the finish line. So the first thing I did was head for the White Corral early in the morning because you and I have spent a lot of time talking about the people in that back corral.
Yeah, White is a race within a race, and that back corral being subdivided into 3 segments meant that the most aggressive of those in the White Corral would want to be in place as soon as possible. And that was 5 a.m.
Well, I rolled towards the start about 5:15, and that front seat in the White Corral was already full.
Wow.
Some racers, Fatty, were laying on the ground trying to get a little more sleep in because they'd been there so early. They were the early risers, and I spoke with a few of these hardy souls about their wake-up times and their hopes on the day. What's your name?
I'm Mike.
Mike, where you from?
San Diego.
What's your expected time?
Just trying to make 12 hours.
I won't hold you to it because by the time this goes out, it'll be all done. But I want to hear about getting into White. What time did you get up? What was your idea about getting to White early this morning?
I got up at 4 a.m. and mainly because I couldn't sleep. And just want to be out in front of the mess.
I got up at 3:45, so I couldn't sleep either, and I'm not riding. What's your name?
Marco Sanchez from Houston, Texas.
And tell me about why you're at the front of White here this morning.
By total advice from somebody who did this race last year. He's in the Purple Corral. His name is Matt Chemra. And he told me we got to get there early so you can get in the front. And he was the very first contestant last year. He was the first one here at 5 in the morning. Yeah. So he's an early riser, and that was easy for me to follow his lead.
And what have you been told about this corral specifically? That it can be a little busy?
It can be busy. There can be some too many crowds at some of the points where you're just kind of hauled and you're stopped and you're walking a little bit too much. So we're trying to get rid of as much time as we can by avoiding as many people as we can.
Well, good luck to both of you.
Thank you.
Have fun, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for doing the podcast.
Yeah, no
We
problem.
appreciate it, man. It's been super helpful.
Okay. What's your name?
My name is Juan Acevedo.
Juan Acevedo. I recognize the name because I think you got a bottle, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the bottle.
So you're here in White and you're pretty much at the front. What motivated all this?
We just wanted to be close to the front in the Wild West and just get a better chance of not getting any bottlenecks.
Yeah. Is this your first time on?
First time, yeah.
So you obviously heeded some sort of advice that if you wanted to avoid the congestion that can happen in White. I mean, Ryan said it from Lifetime. We said it on the show. Is that why you're here this morning?
That and I don't like sleeping much, I guess. We're staying in Breckenridge. It was an hour drive. We got up at 3.
Oh, I was going to say 3. Yeah, I was up at 3:45, and I thought that was kind of ridiculous for a guy who's not riding the race. And so take us through your morning race routine. What's that like? What's breakfast? How do you get ready?
Yeah, so I had some granola, some coffee, got ready, got dressed, sat in the warm car, ate a little bit more, had some hydration on the drive over. And got this jacket on, and right before they close the corral, we'll ditch the jacket and go for it.
Yeah. And so, feed-wise, you're trying to make it how far before you pick up a feed?
To Pipeline.
Pipeline. So you got some bottles there, and you're going to
got some super fuel in there, and some gels in the pocket, and friends that are crewing will pick us up at Pipeline.
And look at you, Juan. You're going with a gravel bike, and it's dark out right now, but I think that's an open wide, maybe?
That's right. Yep.
Not bad for an old guy, huh? So tell us about that decision. Gravel bike. I mean, you're, in a small minority out here.
Very few. I've been looking around to see if I see any others, and it's been very few, if any. So, I mean, I have this bike. I know it's not ideal, but I think hopefully what it doesn't, its limitations on the downhill I can make up in the climbing and on the flats.
Well, you're talking to a guy right now who has been a proponent of this setup. I know it's going to be rough for you, but Juan, I'll look for you at the finish line. Good luck today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
What's your name, sir?
Brandon Marcelin.
Where are you from, Brandon?
From Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, man, Georgia? What? The Georgians love this race. I keep running into Georgians. What's going on down there?
I guess we just love Leadville.
You do love Leadville. How do you get into Leadville, though, without a qualifier down there?
Okay, so last year I got in. I signed up for a raffle, and I found out 2.5 months before the race that I got in. Trained for 2.5 months, had the wrong bike. I just got in. Mm-hmm. And then this year, I didn't finish. I got to mile 75, checkpoint 10 minutes too late. I had a derailleur issue. And I just got determined. It kind of made me fall in love with racing. So I registered again, and I got in. And I've been training for a year, got a new bike, different mindset. Now I'm ready to go.
Kind of gets in your blood a little bit, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. So tell me about your wake-up plan this morning. This is kind of what I'm talking about to people. Take me through your routine this morning to get down here for the early start.
Okay. Well, I was staying at Copper, but I stayed up here with my friends. So barely slept last night. Woke up about 4:30. My goal was to get to the white one corral, the wave one corral, and woke up at 4:30. Ate some oatmeal, banana. Just got the bike ready. Got dressed. And sat there for a little bit, said a prayer, and just came out.
Mm-hmm. So you are in, I can't tell where the sections are yet.
The first one, the first wave for the white corral.
Right, which is a good plan, obviously, because this is a big corral, and we've been talking about on the show all year how important can it be for somebody who wants to get out of town as quickly as possible to get to the front of this corral, and that's obviously your plan.
Yes, last year it was crazy hectic on Kevins. There was a lot of people in front of me that were just walking, so it kind of forced you to walk. So my goal this year is to kind of stay in the front. Don't kill myself. Don't burn too many matches, or don't burn any matches. Just be with a group of people. Just be with the front group, and just hopefully we're at the same pace and we can just get up that first climb and start the race.
Mm-hmm. So you decided to go with a new bike this year. Tell us what you got.
I have a 2022 Specialized Epic Evo, 29er, wireless shifting, SRAM, everything. I did about 15 races this year with this bike, and I love it.
Yeah, that's serious stuff right there, that piece of equipment.
Yes, it is. It is.
Well, good luck today. I hope you get home and get to your goal, and you get everything you want out of this race.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Good stuff there from some very committed racers. I mean, they not only got up super early, but then they waited an hour and 50 minutes in their corral before turning to pedal.
And we'll get to the results in a second, but a couple more things on that white corral I noticed. One racer who did not need to be there early was the great Ty Hall, because Ty, as he's done for several years now, purposely started at the back of the race to see how many racers he could pass over the 105 miles. So as 6:50 approached, I made my way back to white and saw Ty behind the third seed doing warm-up circles, getting ready to get around riders when his gun time was finally announced. And then, Fatty, something really weird happened as the last groups are headed off. After that first seed of riders in the white corral were sent, the race organizers just sent 2 and 3 together.
One more corral to go. Let's bring them on down. 6:50 will be their start time. So Garrett, that's it. We combined whites 2 and 3. So that is it. These are our final riders rolling out. I just got that message. All right. Combine them all. That was it. That was 2 and 3. There's Ty Hall, your dream chaser right there in the yellow kit. For every rider he passes, he's raising money for the Leadville Trail 100 Legacy Foundation. We'll see when he crosses that line. Ty Hall also going for his 20th finish, 2,000-mile buckle. Thanks, sweep. We'll see.
So I'm not sure why 2 and 3 were sent together, but they were. And as you heard, Ty Hall started at the back, but he sure didn't come home in last.
No, he never does. Ty had another amazing ride. He passed 1,237 riders with a chip time of 8 hours and 36 minutes, 34 seconds, and he raised more money for the Leadville Trail Legacy Foundation. I don't even know how many thousands he's raised at this point. A lot.
Yeah, it's over $300,000 at this point. Well over $300,000.
A third of $1,000,000. Incredible. He also got his 2,000-mile buckle, as did Roxanne, his wife, who came in with an amazing chip time of 11 hours, 22 minutes. Roxanne, we've had her on the show. We've had both of them on the show, but holy cow, what an inspiration. Congratulations to both of them.
As for the other riders we talked to at the start line, Mike from San Diego didn't make it home, but the other three found that finish line. Marco Sanchez barely missed a buckle with a 12:02:32. Juan Acevedo buckled with a chip time of 11:47. I ran into Juan shortly after he came across the finish line, Fatty, and indeed, the course and that rigid drop bar bike he was on had done a number on him. Check my Instagram feed or the post on the participants page that goes with this show for a picture of Juan. It's pretty incredible. He does look spent, but he was quite happy and said he would do drop bar again. Brandon Marcelin also made it home and got a buckle. His chip time was 11:57. Now, I saw Brandon and his family the day after in the Leadville race store. He told me the day went great except for one brief moment of terror when he came across a crash at the fish hatchery outbound. A couple of bikes were laying on the ground and he just grabbed a lot of front brake out of instinct, nearly endoed while avoiding the bikes on the ground, but was able to stay upright. Now, we later learned that the crash was apparently some type of hit and run in the area. We're trying to find out more about this crash, and we'll let you know if we learn anything. But, man, what an experience for Brandon, and congratulations, Brandon, on that silver buckle. So from our vantage point, Fatty, it looked like White went okay. Now we're seeing some complaints on the participants page about how things are seated and how things are handled that far back in the race. But, you know, we would love to hear from anybody who has more experience in White, especially if you've raced it last year and raced it this year, about how things went and what you experienced. Speaking of drop bar bikes, did you know that Envy has added a third bike to its lineup? It's not the mountain bike you would hope for, Fatty, but it is more affordable than the custom road bikes Envy first launched.
Yeah, I don't know what I am going to have to do to get Envy to build me a hardtail mountain bike frame. I'll do it, whatever it takes. But I did hear about this new machine. And in fact, this bike has already won a race, and a race that involved dirt at that.
Some of you may have seen this mysterious Envy bike that Alexei Vermillion rode to victory at BWR San Diego. Well, that bike now has a name. It is called the Melee. And we've told you about Envy's custom road bikes where they cut tubes to fit a rider. The Melee is not that. It is a production frame that comes in 7 sizes. Envy is selling the Melee as a chassis, which means for $5,500, the rider gets frame, fork, headset, bars, stem, and seat post. And while this is a road frame, technically, it will clear 35mm tires. Not quite enough to do a Leadville on, but hey, great for graveling. And like we said, Alexei was the best over the dirt sections on a Melee at the Belgian Waffle Ride this spring.
The Melee is being offered through Envy's ride centers. These are select dealers that can help a rider use Envy's fit system so that the Melee is delivered with the right size and Envy components. So, while not fully custom, the Envy Melee is very nearly custom. To go check out the Melee, go to ENVE, that's envy.com.
Okay, back to 6th and Harrison, and now we are well into the afternoon. Riders are coming in, and so are the stories. Some of you may have heard that UCI Pro Tour rider Nicky Terpstra was in town and in the field for the Leadville Trail 100. He rides for Total Energies. He is Dutch, and he showed up in Leadville with fellow countryman Lawrence Tan Dam. They're both great guys. Terpstra has been a pro since 2007. He has finished 6 Tours de France, and he has won both Tour of Flanders and Paris-Roubaix, my favorite 2 races on the Pro Tour. So to say the least, I had a little man crush thing going on when I saw Nicky at the finish. When I saw him at the start line, when I saw him in town, I was like, oh my, it's Nicky. Good. So what did I do? I stalked him as he tried to make a getaway after coming across in 21st, and I asked him for just 2 minutes of his time about his day as one of us, a Leadville racer. What'd you think?
Well,
We saw you walking. I'm like,
it's well, I expected it to be hard, but this was really tough. I mean, almost 7 hours. Full throttle.
What's your body feel like now? Does it feel like after Roubaix, after Flanders? Is it similar, worse, better?
But it's different. But the altitude kicks in, and once you're in the red zone, it's hard to recover. Because you don't get all the oxygen. And on top of Columbine, it's so high, you almost get dizzy. So it's endless in the end. I mean, the last 20K it feels like 50, but it was a special day out.
Yeah. How much did you know coming in about this thing, about the course, what to expect?
We did Wednesday. We did a reckon of half of the route, so I knew a little bit what to expect. But racing on this altitude is something different. But yeah, I expected it to be hard, and it was pretty hard.
Do I need to ask who talked you into this?
Well, of course, Laurens. He did this race 2 times, and he liked it. And I also, saw some images before. So then I thought that's a nice race. I want to do it.
So what are you going to tell people when you go back to Europe about this?
It's one of the hardest races I ever did.
Oh, Hottie, I love that. A Pro Tour guy who specializes in the very toughest one-day road races, and he's coughing still 30 minutes after finishing. Yep.
Caught it on tape. He was having a hard time even that many minutes after the race. Like we said, Terpstra was 21st. He had a time of 6:46.10.
Wow.
He was actually in 9th place at Carter, Fatty, but then fell back to 20th over Sugarloaf and stayed there kind of for the rest of the day. While Terpstra was 21st across the line, he was actually the 20th pro. You see, a non-pro, Samuel Gilletley, finished top 20, actually 17th, to upset the apple cart a little and pushing more than a few pros down a spot in the overall standings.
Love it.
Because there he was. I'm an amateur, but I'm as good as you guys. Fellow Dutchman Laurens ten Dam finished 25th. He was the 24th pro. To me, this Terpstra pro story is different than the Grand Prix pro stories, Fatty. This is like the Terpstra story, that is like a pro experiment. He's like pro curious, and I love that stuff. Nicky's still a road racer, and we'll go back to that, but he has a thirst for other stuff. And why not start with the highest, hardest one-day mountain bike race in the United States?
Why not, indeed? It kind of reminds me of back in the old days when pros would show up and there'd be a big buzz about what they might do, and then the Leadville course would show what they might do. He would have the last say.
Absolutely. One of our favorite pros and a racer we think belongs on the Leadville Mount Rushmore of pros is Todd Wells. Now, Todd has won the Leadville Trail 100 3 times. But when we talked to him, Fatty, last season, he was uncertain about his future with the Race Across the Sky. Last year, he sat out the Trail 100, but this year he was back. He had a good finish and a heck of a story. I caught up with Todd as he was sitting on the courthouse lawn with a torn jersey, a smile on his face, a 6:40.12 chip time, and a 17th place finish. This race has gotten more pro than ever, right? I mean, what were the speeds like? What is it like now compared to when you were winning?
Well, now the group is so much bigger, so it's actually a little easier on the way out. In the past, we'd go over the first climb and there'd be 3 guys, and then we'd rotate the whole day. Today, when we got over the first pass, the group was probably 25. So it's just, more good guys, and with all those guys just rolling through, the speed's pretty quick, and you don't have to do as much work. But then there are so many good guys, so when you hit the big climbs, they go really fast up those climbs.
Yeah. So who are you with eventually when it kind of got sorted out?
Yeah, so made it in. My whole goal for this weekend was to make it into the lead group to the base of Columbine, because you can get out there so much quicker with the big group with less energy, and it's just more fun to actually participate in the race. And then on Columbine, I kind of came unglued, and Alex House and I were riding together on the way down. Coming back, we picked up one other guy, and right after Pipeline, before you pop back out on the pavement, the double track section, House clipped a barbed wire fence with his pedal that's right on the edge of the course, and we went from whatever biggest gear, hands in the middle of the bars, to laying on the ground. Got back up, got going. That kind of killed my mojo a little. It didn't make much of a difference in the overall time, but it would have been nice to not hit the deck today.
Yeah, and you've unfortunately seen this before. Somebody goes down in front of you, famously in a video, and now here again.
These road guys, man, I'm always crashing into them.
Is the race as hard as has it ever been? Like, how do you feel right now compared to when you were, really at your height?
Yeah, well, for me, it just gets harder each year because my fitness drops a little each year. And in the past, when I was competing to try to win, I wasn't in that much pain the whole time. You're kind of with the guys when they attack. If you can go, you go. If not, you don't. But now I feel like I'm just in this constant state of pain the whole race. Everything hurts.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know when we last talked to you on the podcast, you were in a bit of a lull regarding this race. You were still competing in other races, and you hadn't come back. Now you're back here. What do you think? I mean, it's hard to ask any racer after they've crossed the finish line, what are you going to do? And they always say, I'm never coming back to that thing again. What's your state of mind about this place now?
Well, I think this was my 10th Leadville, so I think I've collected, or I'm due for that big belt buckle. I'm not positive. My wife keeps track of all that stuff. But I don't know. This one is a hard one to come to without a lot of good training beforehand.
Yeah.
But it's such a great event, and the vibe is awesome, and having the family out here is it's great.
You like the new route too, the little changes? I mean, I know you'll have single track, so you probably missed that one bit, but how do you feel about what they've done to the route?
Yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, I saw that it said 105 miles instead of 104, but I didn't know that we turned around sooner on Columbine. That was a really nice surprise. But when the guys were coming down, all of them were coming down so fast when I was getting up towards the top. And I thought I was further back, but because they moved the turnaround point, it wasn't as far back as I thought. Still far back, but not as far back.
And what can you say about Keegan Swenson, by the way? I mean, that guy, I was a Twin Lakes alternate, and he already had 5 or 6 minutes at least, and then second, and then there was huge gaps formed, I presume, by him. What do you think about him?
I know it's awesome to see Keegan do so well this year. He's been crushing it, and last year I think he was 7th in Marathon World Champs, which is a huge result, and he's up there with those guys. It'd be cool to see, like in the past when Albin and Susie and Heineck, those guys were all Marathon World Champs or medalists. It'd be cool to see more Euro guys come over, try to break the record, and Keegan, I think, would just smash it with a group of those guys.
All right, Todd Wells. Well, it's good to see you back here. You're one of the most important racers for the Leadville Trail 100, so
thank you.
It feels better to have you here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're absolutely right, Hottie. He is one of the great guys in the history of the Leadville Trail 100. He really does belong on the Mount Rushmore of Leadville, as you say. Honestly, the press needs to have paid more attention to this guy. They reported on the crash, and they talked about how it affected Alex Howe's day, but they did not give a lot of attention to how Todd was caught out. It's terrific to hear that he got back on his bike and made it to the finish line. He is a true hard man. And by the way, Todd, we checked the records, and that is number 10 for you. So congratulations on your 1,000-mile buckle.
All right, Fatty, I think I saved the best for last. Now, this is someone we've had on the show before, way back in Season 3, Episode 18. That's when we first met Sarah Sturm. And she was still getting to know Leadville at the time. Last year, Sarah Sturm was on the podium at the Trail 100, finishing third. This year, she was a top favorite. Sturmy, as she is known, did not make it back to the podium for 2022. She rolled in at 7 hours, 54 minutes, 42 seconds. Fourth in the women's field, but as far as stories go, she had a doozy.
Let's kind of build up to what happened to Sarah Sturm today. I know I saw you outbound Columbine, Twin Lakes alternate going up the mountain. You looked in great shape. So were things feeling good early on there?
Yeah, things felt really good. And then there was this very defined moment where they started feeling super bad. And I've never, ever had stomach issues in a race, ever. But I just couldn't keep anything down. And so all of Columbine, I just felt like I was going backwards. And it was like, it was insane. It was crazy. So then you go through this whole mental thing because you're not totally done, but you're like, wow, those calories that I can't get in me, I need them. I know. But, and then when I came back through Pipeline, I was really actually kind of freaked out that I wasn't going to finish because I just felt so bad. And you know it's not good when you don't even care what place you're in. And then I think I just needed I got a bunch of water and I just started drinking only water. And then going up Power Line, I felt not normal, but better.
Mm-hmm. So I am right to say that outbound you were in a good spot, at least positionally with the race.
Yeah.
But then GI hits.
Yeah, I was riding with Hannah, which was super fun. Like she and I, we've ridden a bit at Leadville last year together, and she was riding super strong, and we both were just kind of being conservative on Columbine. And then I just felt bad and started going backwards, and she just started going forwards.
Now, this was never side of the trail getting rid of breakfast, was it? Wasn't that bad? Or was that bad, huh?
Oh, yeah. I'm not a puker. My mom and sister will laugh at this because they also are not pukers, and we do anything it takes to not throw up. And so the fact that that was traumatizing for me out there.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to bring it up.
No, it's okay.
Hottie again, it's got to bring up the bad stuff. But so you rally and you get back to Pipeline and you kind of flush, I guess, with the water and dilute whatever it is in your gut.
Yeah.
And then bring us home. Then more Leadville magic on the way home?
Well, boy, it got epic after that. I thought I had already had the epic part of my day. I saw a friend right when I was feeling really, really low, and I was like, I don't actually know if I can finish this. And she was like, yes, you can. And then I cried a little bit, as one does. And then at Pipeline, I caught a friend of mine, going up Power Line. My legs started feeling sort of normal, and my gut did not feel great still, but I wasn't puking anymore. So that I was like, well, I'll take it as a win. And then I just kind of kept pedaling. And when we hit the road section, I just finally felt good again. And I was starting to power, really put the power down. I don't know. I don't have a power meter. It felt like I did. I don't have a power meter on this bike. And then I saw Alexis, and sometimes that's all you need.
Stars and Stripes.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I can bring it back in, and I passed her, and then I was feeling good, cramped again. Came back from dead again, up all those darn rollers, and then coming down road 9 or whatever, the one that we go out. A cow hit me. It ran across the road. All the other ones had run, and there was just one straggler off to the right, and it came across and knocked me off my bike. My glasses went flying. My bike was under the cow. I literally made physical contact with the cow and my shoulder, and I got up and it brought me all the way down and got the wind knocked out of me, and I stood up, and some guy rolled past me, and I was like, did you see that? And he's like, what? And I was like, oh my God, a cow just took me out. And I was laughing, and then I was like, oh my God, am I okay? And I just put all my things back on my bike. My bottles were gone, my computer was gone, And then, unfortunately, I just had to single speed back from there to the finish.
Gears were gone.
Gears were gone. I'm just really glad that the cow didn't. I don't think, like, if the cow had trampled my bike, I think I wouldn't have made it to the finish line. So I don't think it trampled it. Maybe it just got bumped when I crashed the derailleur. But yeah, no shifting.
Well, you are a single speeder, so
I know.
is that
maybe it's my sign? Yeah, it was great. I've never had that happen. I'm not a big meat eater, but now I kind of want to go get a hamburger.
Well, I do know the sheriff of this county, by the way. So if you'd like to file a report, I can get you in.
Some sheriff asked me if I was okay, and I just said I think so, but I actually don't know. I think I'm fine.
Yeah,
I didn't break anything.
Look, we've said it on our podcast before. You have the best smile inside. And it's still,
Wow.
after all that, it's still here.
No.
So that's great.
Well, thank God. Didn't think that was going to be the case, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I'm really proud of myself for pushing through that. That was an emotional roller coaster today. Yeah.
I think you have one of the top stories in Leadville history. So if nothing else, you have that.
I was hoping to win, so that would have been a sweeter story. But I'm really proud of Hannah. She earned that one today.
Sarah Sturm, thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Single speed next year, I guess.
Fatty will be so happy.
I'm not a puker. Oh, I love that. And I love her honesty. I mean, not everyone, especially, would speak so openly about a collapse like that. And then a collision with a cow. I don't think I've ever heard of that happening before in this race. It is beautiful that she rode single speed home from the bottom of Kevens. I mean, she was the 2018 and 19 cyclocross single speed national champ. So we, I guess, should not be surprised. But still, she is the greatest. And hopefully next year, we'll be celebrating her victory.
Yep, I'm a big fan of Sturmey's. I mean, she sat there on the grass and willingly told me a story that could be a real bummer for some. And a postscript to Sarah's weekend, by the way, last year she won the Lead Boat Challenge. This year she went to Steamboat after Leadville, but sat out the race to focus on a project she calls It's Supposed to Be Fun.
Yeah, so it's starting with a mini videos documentary series about the concept of It's Supposed to Be Fun. But at Steamboat, we're doing a live event thing with Wahoo and Stillspoke, and we're basically going to have a tent at Steamboat. So when people finish, they will get their portraits taken. It's going to be a part of a bigger art project. They can come and share their stories about how cows hopefully didn't take them out at the end of the race. And we're really just going to go and hang out with some people that push themselves at these sorts of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to be on the other side.
And this is your community charity thing that you pursue, you do?
I wouldn't call it charity. It's sort of evolving right now, but just pushing the concept of there's more than just winning, especially for young people. And it kind of ties back into my story of how I got back into cycling and the realization that it's supposed to be fun. So just kind of shining some light that, like today, not all parts of that is fun, even if you win.
So check out Sarah Zoe Sturm on Instagram for more on this project. You see a lot of racers cross the finish line, including Leadville, who could use a dose of Sarah's message that is, it's supposed to be fun. Because if it's not fun, it might just spit you out. All right, Fatty, let's do something that we did last year and talk briefly about some of the people connected to this show and their day at the Leadville Trail 100. And I want to start with our friend Brandon Dijksterhouse, our main contact at the feed. Brandon was responsible for our custom bottle program and for the feed sponsoring the show for all 5 seasons. Brandon raced the LT 100 this year, and I was proud to be part of his feed team, no pun intended. Brandon had me hand up a bottle and a gel to him at Twin Lakes Alternate Outbound. The gel and drink were from Never Second. We've talked about them before. Never Second is the company with the easy-to-understand carb counting system. Everything from drinks and gels comes in 30-gram increments. So Brandon took a C30 gel and a bottle with what certainly looked like C30 sports drink in it. We did a perfect hand-up just before he headed up Columbine. Then I saw Brandon at the finish. He came in with a time of, wait for it, 7 hours, 32 minutes. Yeah, he's that good.
Wow.
Brandon was 5th in his division, and his son was there to meet him and cross with him at the finish line.
Oh, good guy, good company. Super happy for Brandon. Last year, he had to drop out due to a mechanical. This year, he came back with at least what looks like a vengeance. He broke 8. He is the real deal. And this show owes him a big a debt of gratitude for all that he and the feed has done for us. If you want to fuel like a racer who gets back to 6th and Harrison in 7.5 hours, go to thefeed.com. Claim your $80 annual credit at thefeed.com/Leadville and register your email. You'll verify your phone number, and then you're going to start spending your feed credits every quarter, $20. Start right away.
Okay, so that's Brandon's story. Let's get to the rest of our lifts here, Fatty. We're going to go quickly and give shout-outs to some of the other racers connected to the show, and a few we thought were just cool stories. So here we go.
Oh, this is going to be hard to do because, there's 1,500 amazing stories that happen in this race, right? Yeah. But one of them is a frequent contributor to the show, Jeremiah Bishop. He was on the Expo show, 707 this year, in spite of a lot of troubles. And then he went out the next day and did the lead boat challenge. Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and did it on a recovering knee. He had an ACL surgery.
Wow.
Not connected to the show, but we probably should interview him, Fatty, and that is Griffin Easter. I found out about him actually the day after. Somebody said, hey, did you hear about the guy who ran in to the finish line, ran 2 miles in because his crank broke in the last couple miles of the race? Griffin Easter's his name. He did a 7-hour, 13-minute, 20-second chip time at the Leadville Trail 100. Brian McCullough. Great guy, good friend of ours. We had him on in the COVID year. He came on to talk to us about what we do to keep our fitness going at the time. Super good talker, super good storyteller. I think this was his second Leadville, not sure on that. 7 hours, 17 minutes, 52nd overall. By the way, if you want to get with another great coach, I know we have Cody Bigwell Coaching as Brian's. By the way, Brian was not 100%, and he's been struggling with some health things that may require some surgery this year. So that's a terrific time for a guy not 100%.
That is a terrific time for anyone. 100%, 120%.
Absolutely. Rose Grant, Fatty, and I are big fans. Again, thank you, Rose, for coming on the Expo show, for coming on last year, for having your coach come on the show. Rose was second. Second place female on the day, 7 hours, 29 minutes. I talked to her afterwards briefly. She said, yeah, she was 5 minutes slower from pipeline to the red carpet. And, she was only 4 minutes behind when she went by me, Twin Lakes alternate inbound. So that's probably where the difference was for Rose, right there with the pipe. And we've talked about pipeline home that's the race, folks, right? Nate Whitman, he's been on the show as well a couple of times. He was on last year and I think a couple years ago. Nate's a good friend of mine and helped me get started in this thing altogether. Nate was 7 hours, 26 minutes. Actually, not his best time. He was 4th in his division. That's not his best place. Why are we talking about Nate? Because he got his 2,000-mile buckle. So congrats to Nate. Went to his little party afterwards, too. It was a lot of fun. In fact, Nate has got some great memorabilia, Fatty, going back to the very first Leadville 100s. Not the first, but the first ones he entered. So he's got the old sweatshirts and he's got the old programs with all the racer names in it. And he showed all that stuff off to his friend and family that were gathered there for his 2,000-mile buckle celebration. Kristen Legan. Okay, we are associated with Shimano on this show. Nick Legan is our contact at Shimano. Kristen Legan is his wife, and she is a super, super good racer. Obviously, she rides on Shimano. That helps, but that's not everything. That doesn't get you across in 7 hours and 51 minutes. She was 8th female on the day. I had the pleasure of handing up an ice pack, Fatty, which we may put into our future feeding plans. We had ice ready for you folks, but it was in plastic bags. Nick and Kristen do it pro style. They have, old pantyhose and ice, and she placed it down the back of her neck after I handed it off to her at Twin Lakes alternate.
It sounds like a marginal gain, something to put on another show. Let's also make sure we remember Marvin Sandoval with a 7 hours, 51 minute, 45 seconds, 12th in his division. He is another person who's been a guest on the show, super Leadville local and a lead man. And I want to make sure I call out Melissa Rollins, my stepdaughter, 9th female. She is hanging in tough and tied for 7th place, I believe, in the Grand Prix. She's in the money, which is not half bad as your first year as a pro.
Okay, I think it was Sunday night after the race. I ran into our friend Ryan Cross with Lifetime. He helped us quite a bit this year, and he introduced me to his partner, Kate McLaughlin. And oh, by the way, Kate is a damn fast rider. She did 8 hours, 5 minutes, 13th place female. And she said to me, Fatty, well, you'll be proud of this. She listened to our carbo loading episode with Denise Fay.
Nice.
And nearly followed it to a T. She said she totally changed her strategy about what to eat and when to eat it in the week leading up to a race and had a great day. I believe this is a PR for her at Leadville. So great day for Kate, and congratulations to Kate and Ryan.
Yeah, no doubt. And we are so fortunate to have had so many amazing experts on the show this season. Just incredible. One person who we have not had on the show, but maybe we should, is my niece, Lindsay Stevenson. She races with Shimano. She races with Envy, couple of companies that we have talked about before. She turned in a blistering 8 hours and 27 minutes, 21st female, and then she went to Steamboat Springs and raced again the next day. Boy, just I can't even imagine trying to ride, much less race the next day. Also, all-time finisher, meaning he has finished every single time, Todd Murray. And his daughter, Lauren Gavato, she finished with a 940 in a 17, second in her division. Congratulations. That is quite a streak. Also, John Callahan, the other Leadville 100% finisher, finished in 10 hours and 19 minutes. Congratulations to both of them. I hope their streak goes on forever. You know who else we need to make sure we talk about is Dr. Ross, Dr. Justin Ross. He appeared in episode 8 and gave us some great sports psychology, some great performance psychology on how to train your brain. He finished in 9 hours, 55 minutes on his first ever Leadville 100. Great guy, lots of great information, and an amazingly fast time. And not together, but within 3 minutes of each other, my wife, Lisa the Hammer Nelson. She was second in her division. You know, Hottie, we are going to have to actually add onto our house soon for all of the trophies she has from the Leadville 100, as well as the Lead Woman Challenge that she did a couple of years ago. We have so many minor pie plates or whatever those trophies are called.
Well, speaking of trophies, there's a guy that was in the field who has a lot of them, and some very important ones. Ashton Lambie. He's the 4-kilometer world champ, and he also holds the world record in that division. That's a track discipline, but there he was at the Leadville Trail 100. We interviewed him a couple seasons ago, I should say, Fatty. And he talked about just kind of, he just wanted to jump into this thing and give it a go. He's also in the Lifetime Grand Prix Series. And obviously, this is not his. I mean, these are long endurance events. He races the 4-kilometer. I don't know how many kilometers are on the Trail 100. You can do the math. For Ashton, it took him 10 hours, 37 minutes, 46 seconds to get around that track that is the Leadville Trail 100.
If there is a more opposite kind of course between track racing and Leadville, I really don't have any idea what it could possibly be. Another person who turned in a good time, a fast time, Michael Iddings. He was in our show a couple of years ago talking about his bum ticker. Obviously, nothing wrong with it now, turning in very fast time in Leadville 100. Chris Smith, a good friend of mine, he was in our show a couple of years ago. We talked with him because he is visually impaired and tends to get around the course through using a lot of boldness and a lot of suspension. Now, 2 days before the race, he was, or it might have been the day before the race, he was going down Clavicle Hill, endoed, and there is like one tree stump off to the left of the trail. And it's like the only tree stump in, a radius of 5 miles. He landed on it hard with one of his legs, didn't know if he was even going to start the race, did start the race, finished the race, got a PR. That guy has a ton of heart. So proud of him.
Hopefully you remember the name Jeff Leanhoutz. We interviewed him last year as he was about to go for his 25th Leadville Trail 100. If you don't remember him, here's a little memory scrub for you. He's the guy who stops at Twin Lakes Dam outbound, sits down, and eats a Subway sandwich as part of his feed program. Jeff finished the race again, 11 hours, 43 minutes, 5 seconds. I'm going to follow up with him and see how many Subway sandwiches he ate. I presume he did. He went through the same routine because it seems to be working.
He brings a lot of joy and just a lot of pleasure into this ride. Kind of reminds me of what you were talking about with Sarah Sturm, that you got to have fun.
All right, somebody who graciously came on our show this year, he wears a very important last name, and that's Klober. Cole Klober did enter the race. I saw him Twin Lakes alternate outbound. He was back there a ways, and I was a little worried about him because I know Chloe can handle his bike. Like, he knows how to get around this course, and he's a sub-9 guy normally. Now, maybe he wasn't training as much. I don't know. We didn't get into that with him when we interviewed him. Cole did finish 11 hours, 50 minutes. He got his 1,000-mile buckle. That's a big deal. But here's why maybe he was back there a ways, or it is why he was back there a ways. Fatty, broken rim, and a stick went through a tire. So that's a lot to deal with and still make it home. So congrats to Cole. Your dad's voice must have been in your head, or maybe you had your own voice in your head. But, buddy, I'm glad you made it home.
Oh, we both are. And add to that, I texted with him briefly, and apparently he power vomited as well during the race. So he had a bad day and did not quit. So, boy, I would love to hear that story in detail at some point. My good friend Amber Sandberg also finished with 11:43. Lisa and Amber ride together every single week. They are training partners, one of my very favorite people, and she does my taxes.
Okay, a couple of the people that we've never interviewed and we didn't know their names before Saturday's Leadville Trail 100, the 2022 edition. That's Margaret Schaffler. I hope I get her name correctly. She is the last official finisher. We really want to obviously put a spotlight on anybody that tries this event, but the person who keeps going, that comes across last, is worth noting. She finished in 1,232nd place out of 1,488 entries, plus 4 tandems. Her time was 13 hours, 11 minutes, 36 seconds. And as you folks know, due to the wave starts and the extended cutoff times, that last cutoff time is the last official finisher's time, and she got it. So congrats to Margaret. Now the last, Fatty, the name of this next title, I guess I always struggle with, and it's probably just tradition, and people just accept it. Calling anybody the last ass of anything, I always go, what? Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? But there is a last ass over the pass. It's actually a category in the drop-down menu on the athletes page. You can look this person up by simply going there. So the last buckler, I'll call it, but a buckler, was Susan Petronio. 11 hours, 59 minutes, 40 seconds, chip time. She got a buckle. Congrats to Susan.
And the last ass thing actually harkens back to the Burro races in Boomtown days that come the week before. When they're talking about an ass, they're talking about a donkey. It's more they're talking about the heritage. So it isn't calling someone an ass, but rather it is something that is very Leadvillian.
Right.
So kudos for sure to Susan Petronio.
All right, speaking of tradition, the red carpet. The red carpet. Fatty and I often say, yeah, you got to, you want to smell that red carpet. You want to hunt that red carpet. You're coming up the boulevard. You're thinking about the red carpet. And some of you may have noticed this year's Leadville Trail, no red carpet. Like, where's the red carpet? Was it sent out to the cleaners and no one picked it up? Not exactly. I did check into this. I asked around, and indeed the red carpet has seen its better days. When they pulled it out, it was so beat up that they felt like it presented a hazard and that somebody could actually wipe out on it if they were to roll up it. So instead, they decided to go with no red carpet, but they do expect to have a red carpet at next year's Leadville 100.
I'll be honest, Hottie, I did not notice. I saw the red light, the traffic signal, and, they could have had a green carpet. I would not have noticed the difference. The finish line is the finish line. So, let's go ahead and wrap this episode. Hottie, I love this one. Super kudos to you on this episode. We're both on social media. You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Fast Cyclist. Hottie's more into Instagram. He's at Michael Houghton. Of course, we're both on Facebook at the Leadville 100 mountain bike page. And if you want to have a conversation, come on over to our Slack channel. You'll find a link to it at leadville.com. And if you want to have a conversation come on over to our Slack channel. You will find a link to it over at leadville.fm/Slack.
Yeah, the stories are still coming in. We still enjoy hearing about them, even as the season winds down. So keep them coming, folks. We love hearing about them. If you like the show, go wherever you listen and give us a 5-star rating, write a review, see all the ways you can find this show. Our little URL is leadville.fm. And finally, telling your friends about the show is the ultimate compliment. Folks are already thinking about next year's Leadville Trail 100, the 2023 edition. If you know a newbie or know somebody who struggled this year, send them our way. Send them to our catalog. We heard from people in town that they've been listening clear back to season 1. I mean, there's like 130 plus episodes out there. You might drive your family a little wacky, but it's a good place to start if you, A, are a first-time Leadviller, or B, you want to just do the darn thing better.
Good luck in your recovery. Put your legs up. Keep telling folks your stories. We want to hear them too. We'll see you at the 2023 starting line.
100 miles of pure pain and glory in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit it! Let's go! Orange Riders underway!